So this was an idea that I had not too long ago where we were going to discuss your Mount Rushmore of games. And I was going to do some various topics. And the first one I wanted to do was first person shooters, because I mean, my Mount Rushmore of FPSs might be different from yours. I think Woody Man had it in the chat earlier. He had Doom, Time Splitters 3, Modern Warfare 2, and Titanfall 2. I mean, those are good choices. I mean, mine are gonna be different. I went through and I've played a lot of first person shooters in my time, but I think that my Mount Rushmore had to be, you know, what changed the industry, what impact it had on me personally playing them, what innovated, and you know, where we were at that time. I got my Mount Rushmore up here, and we're gonna go through them one by one. And they're in no particular order per se, but I ended up doing them in chronological order. So I think for the first one, a lot of you probably have already guessed it. On my Mount Rushmore of first person shooters, the first one has to go to Doom. I mean, it has to. Now, I was thinking, like, should we put Wolfenstein 3D on here? And I was like, you know what? Probably not. Where Wolfenstein 3D and id kind of set the groundwork, Doom kind of like exploded and made that way better than it ever had any right to be. Because when you look back at Wolfenstein, it's pretty rudimentary. It's, you know, you're in the castle, the rooms are pretty samey, and it's just on one dimension. Like it's in 3D but pseudo 3D. So there's no real, like, there's no sense of, oh, I'm climbing upstairs, I'm doing this. You're just, everything's on a flat plane. But with Doom, it just basically was like, no, we're taking this to the next level. Like, there's gonna be platforms, there's gonna be staircases, there's gonna be elevators, different areas to go to. And I think how, like, the reason why I put this up here as well is that just like the cultural impact it had on the industry, and the fact too that, like, that meme goes, Doom runs on everything. Like, I think like, they've had it running in like Minecraft. It's on like every system imaginable. There's been Tiger handheld electronics. They probably could run the entirety of Doom on a Tiger handheld at this point. But with Doom, they've also made it to the point that, like, they're not done with the regular Doom. Like, they keep re-releasing this on newer consoles, older consoles, and they'll go back and just remake Doom even on the current gen. The Xbox One version of Doom got remade and bundled in with Doom 2 just so that it had mod support, and then they delisted the old one. Now, what's funny is that the first time I ever played Doom fully was not on PC. It was actually on the Super Nintendo. And I know a lot of people like to scoff at the Super Nintendo version and the fact that, like, it barely ran, but I mean, it was good enough for me back in the day. Like, I enjoyed it. And then I got to my father's friend's house when they worked on cars. My brother and I played Doom, and to have a PC that actually could run Doom instead of what we had at home, we could not run Doom at home. It was a treat to sit there and like actually go through it and try to find all the secrets and hidden weapons and such. On my Mount Rushmore, not really a number one spot, but again, we're going in chronological order here. We're going with Doom. Okay, so the next one I think everyone can pretty much guess, and I think someone else in the comments had guessed. So we see what it did with the first person shooter genre on PC, but now we're going to take a look at a company that took the first person genre and helped to evolve it on home console. I, of course, am talking about, from 1997 by Rare and Nintendo, GoldenEye 007. And what's funny about it is that this was like 2 years after the movie had come out, and a lot of people's first exposure to Pierce Brosnan and James Bond was through this game. There's people that played this game that have never watched GoldenEye. And honestly, y'all should go watch GoldenEye. GoldenEye is a fantastic movie. They're a fantastic Bond movie. Controller was clunky. You know, we had the Nintendo 64 controller with the one analog stick, and you know, they didn't quite find their footing yet. I mean, we had Alien Resurrection on PlayStation 1, but people were scoffing at the fact that how dare you use dual analog sticks to move in a first-person shooter, not knowing that that would be the norm. But like GoldenEye just brought the fun factor. Like, not only did it like almost faithfully recreate the movie, I mean, they had to take some liberties. Like, there are some missions there where James Bond was not there, and they had to like basically stretch it out by going, oh yeah, he was there in Russia for the launch of the satellite, and he was there to get Natalia out of them firing the first GoldenEye, when it actually never happened. But also too, like the multiplayer, like playing first-person shooters at home with friends in deathmatch at home, it was phenomenal. Of course, no odd job, no jaws. They're OP'd because one's taller, one's shorter. I had played so much GoldenEye with my brother and my friends. So much fun. I always have funny stories about like my brother, like whenever the rocket launcher was in play, like you weren't allowed to shoot anyone until you got the rocket launcher. And this is just his arbitrary rule because he always wanted to go for the rocket launcher first. But yeah, so this was what I'm so glad that this is available on Xbox One and on the Nintendo Switch. I will say though that with that Switch 2 update where you could remap the buttons, it's still really hard to control. But yeah, people have such a distinct memory of GoldenEye 007 that when EA had the license and they brought people into like waiting rooms at E3 and said, yeah, we're going to bring back GoldenEye, people were hyped. They thought that it was actually going to be a full-fledged like remaster, but it ended up just being a remake using Daniel Craig, which I mean, in itself, it's GoldenEye Reloaded was not terrible, but people were kind of expecting the old jankiness of the original. But yeah, if I have, anything that I put on my Mount Rushmore of this is a definitive first-person shooter, it'd be GoldenEye, just because of what it did for future FPSs on consoles. And what he's saying, better Bond FPS, Agent Under Fire, Night Fighter, better by the same people, Time Splitters 2 and 3. Yeah, because like all the Rare developers left Rare and formed their own studio to make Time Splitters. The third game, if you know me and you know my style and you know what I play, you can pretty much guess what number 3 is going to be. And that is Halo Combat Evolved. GoldenEye helped revolutionize first-person shooters on console. Halo perfected it. Now, like I was saying before, you had Alien Resurrection on PlayStation 1 that was using dual analog sticks for aiming, and people hated that initially. They're like, how can you mess up these controls? But Halo came in and blew that out of the water. Not only that, but with the way that they told their story through cutscenes and using in-game models, not to mention the fact that like it brought more people into couch co-op and multiplayer with that game. So much so that people were having LAN parties with their Xboxes, like 16-player versus. And let's not forget, without that technology, Rooster Teeth would not have created Red versus Blue and create this new form of animation that we call machinima. But Halo Combat Evolved, like the thing about it too is that like Halo Combat Evolved was initially going to be on the Apple computer and was not going to be a first-person shooter. It was going to be a RTS game. I mean, we already have that now with Halo Wars and Halo Wars 2, but like, you imagine if like the original Halo was whatever the original concept was going to be, it was going to be on Mac and going to be an RTS. That would be pretty weird. But again, it's one that I routinely always come back to. Not only that, but just like the controls just felt so good on it. Like this is how I felt like FPS is, if you're on a console, should be played. I don't know, I grew up playing FPSs on consoles, so like to me when Halo came out, it just was perfect. Now granted, I didn't get into the series until Halo 2 came out, and I started playing multiplayer online with my friends and making new friends through Xbox Live. I would put Halo on my Mount Rushmore of FPSs just because of like how it changed the industry and how it changed FPSs on console. Okay, finally, I don't know if anyone would have called this, and I wouldn't even have called it myself until I recently installed it because I was like, this does deserve to be on here? And I think so. I am talking about Half-Life 2.
Rise and shine, Mr. Freeman. Rise and shine.
Now, I'll explain my reason for Half-Life 2. Half-Life 2 and the Source engine changed so much due to the fact that like the entire world was somewhat interactive. Like you could pick up anything and move anything with gravity, and then later on, like when you get the gravity gun, it changes everything. So instead of having to rely on your shotguns and your handguns, you're going through and you're lifting things up. Not only that, like the physics engine, like there's a point in the beginning of the game where you have to do this like seesaw platform and get up to another spot. You're not strong enough to jump up there, so you have to pick up cinder blocks and weigh down this board just so there's enough weight on there for you to jump over. And then there's like parts where like you have to create buoys with barrels to like, you know, make other mechanics go. Like it's crazy. Like the physics is what really makes Half-Life 2 for me, because there's some areas there where like you could be very strategic on how you kill enemies. You could just like go in there, you know, guns a-blazing and just, you know, go for headshots or whatever. Or you could just like, hey, if I break down that wooden crate, it will bring down a barrel, which should catch on fire, therefore blowing up and killing all my enemies, and then I can conserve my ammo that way. Now, it's a shame that they never ever finished the story. We got, you know, Half-Life 2 episode 1, episode 2, you know, Gabe Newell hates the number 3. I don't understand why he will never do 3s. Like we desperately need a Portal 3. We need a Left 4 Dead 3. We need Half-Life 3. The one negative I have about Half-Life 2 is that it's kind of dated with the fact that like you'll have a small section of the world to walk around in, and then as soon as you go through a doorway, it goes to loading. Now, granted, on the PC, it's not that bad, you know, with solid state drives and all that. The load time is not bad. It's probably like half a second to a second. From my knowledge, I think it's worse on console, like the 360 PS3. It does take a little bit to load there. So guys, this is my Mount Rushmore of first-person shooter games: Doom, GoldenEye 007, Halo 1, and Half-Life 2.